to okay. All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. As I said a few seconds ago, these slides will be available on our website either later today or tomorrow. I am also available to answer any questions after you have reviewed the slides and kind of looked at the RFP again based on the information that I have provided to you today. So welcome to HumanitiesDC. HumanitiesDC's grant Q&A session. Today is May 25th, and we will discuss our current grant opportunities, which are our Mini Vision Partnership Grant, our Soul of the City Partnership Grant, and our Humanities Curator Grant. So I'd like to start with our mission, our vision, just so that everybody knows who we are. HumanitiesDC, which of course is also known as Humanities Council of Washington, DC. We aim to enrich the quality of life, foster intellectual stimulation, and promote cross-cultural understanding and appreciation of local history in all neighborhoods of DC through humanities programs and grants. And so our grantees assist us in really touching all 8 wards and really bringing or kind of complementing the humanities programming that is currently existing and creating who we are. So the Humanities Council of Washington, DC is one of 56 humanities councils throughout the United States and its territories. And so we have a Virginia Humanities Council and Maryland Humanities, and that network of humanities councils are all funded through the National Endowment for the Humanities. I guess we're considered affiliates. And we have an organization called the State Federation of Humanities, where they bring everyone together, and we're really able to discuss best practices and really talk about the field of humanities and how to keep it alive, how to keep it accessible, and just really work through kind of really cool and neat opportunities throughout the country. We're not affiliated with a state agency. We are an independent nonprofit, and we strive to serve all 8 wards of Washington, D.C. So I always like to put a definition of humanities in here. I get that a lot. Some people who are, humanities scholars and professionals don't have this issue, but there are a lot of people who are running programs who they are just not clear on exactly where they fit beyond a history perspective, or, is this right? I'm talking about language. I have some history elements. And so being able to share this, I put it in every slide deck that I have about grant opportunities, and just, really focusing on asking the questions or looking at our stories past, our stories expressions, and our stories values as it relates to the humanities disciplines, because they are very vast and it can get confusing, but we really want people to hone in on the particular disciplines that their project or program or idea has, so that we can be clear on what we're presenting to the public. So the 2021 Humanities Mini Vision. So previous years, even this year, we had a vision grant. So this year we are doing 1.5. So we've had the vision grant opportunity. This is the mini vision, and it is mini because it is half the time, about 6 months project period, and it is half the funding that we've had in previous years. So it's up to $15,000, and it's about a 6-month period. And so for the vision grant, I like to summarize it as, it is your vision of the humanities, your vision of how you see or you view this particular idea or project that you have, and then to bring it full circle into a public humanities program. And so this opportunity will support that idea financially, along with capacity building. And the capacity building is more, when we award the grant, there will be a group of awardees that we call a cohort. We bring those people together at the end, at the beginning of the grant period, and have an award ceremony. And so those people are able to share what their project is, who they are, how they got here, and through this grant cycle, which is 6 months this time, be able to really find synergies amongst one another and really share, ideas. And so on that end, as well as from a grants program manager, being able to support the projects and make certain that you come to the finish line. Again, they're driven by your project idea and what that looks like as a public humanities program. What is that final product? We ask that you partner with a humanities scholar and that your final product is something that is tangible that can go into our DC DM, our DC Digital Museum, that it can live there. So again, up to $15,000. The application deadline is June 7th. And the project period begins July 15th and it ends January 17th of next year. Late applications will not be accepted. We do not require LOI. You can read the RFP as well as log into our portal to obtain a copy of the grant application. Originality, kind of put this in there. Again, public interpretation, the scholarship piece, and again, the humanities scholar can just really assist in making certain that not only the humanities disciplines that maybe a program person would not know to pull out, but that they are intricately weaved into your project. I think that's the biggest piece with the scholar. Most of our grantees have meetings with the scholars throughout the project. And, they've been enlightening. I know they have been enlightening for me as new things are able to be discussed and brought into a project. And it could be based on your actual project idea or what's happening, in the world today that your scholar is able to pull additional information to assist you. So the Soul of the City grant. So this grant we typically do each year. And this time we are doing a Soul of the City program that is really focused on the social emotional learning aspect of Soul of the City. So typically, as in typical years, it must be a youth program. We have expanded the age of this Soul of the City. So instead of 14 years old, the program must serve 11 years old to 19 years old. It can be any segment of that age. It could be 11 to 13 years old or 16 and 17 years, but 17-year-olds, but it must serve children between 11 and 19 years old. You must have a youth program that currently exists. It does not have to have a current social emotional learning approach, but through this Soul of the City program, you will create or expand having an expanded integration of the social emotional learning approach into your existing humanities program. The deliverable for each funded project will be, at the end of the grant, will include a comprehensive plan for incorporating social emotional learning approach into your program, several lesson plans demonstrating that approach and how someone would be able to do that with their program, as well as a training module for youth serving program staff. So what we want to ensure is that the Soul of the City social emotional learning approach to your humanities program is actually provided by trained program staff, and that the staff have also been trained in looking at their own social emotional learning. We are at the, I guess, in the wake of the pandemic, and I use wake lightly. Things are opening up. We are all positive, but we know that our children have been home. Some of them haven't stepped in the classroom for the entire year plus. Some of them go hybrid and some go full-time. And that just really depends on, in DC, whether you go to DCPS, are you at a private school, are you at a charter school, what that looks like. And so we want to make certain that we are stepping in to support our youth and to support their program staff that typically do support our youth. And I know that they have been in the midst of continuously working with our students over the year. And so we want to make sure our program staff is doing well and able to implement our programs, our humanities programs. We also so that they can actually successfully do that. And so we will also have evaluation tools that will be required. And so the lesson plans, the actual comprehensive plan, the lesson plans, then the module for the training of the youth serving staff, and the evaluation tools that will be used to evaluate the program from the student side, as well as from the program staff side. And you should be able, at the end of the program, to have evaluated your program staff to see how the program or how the training went for them. And so we do ask that you do partner with a scholar on this project to make certain that you are going in the right direction. And that scholar can look, different ways as it can for the Vision Project. It can be somebody who is doing social emotional learning and the humanities, somebody who is, a PhD in mindfulness. It can look several different ways. And it just depends on the organization, how you pull that together. I will be excited to see how organizations are able to pull this together. I know pre-pandemic, for our Soul of the City programs, we had, discussions about the lack of social emotional learning approaches in some programs in the school system. So we are hoping that this combination will really allow us to see programs being very intentional about how they move forward with the SEL in their program. So again, must serve children 11 through 19. You must have a minimum of 13 participants in your program. And the program must incorporate one or more humanities disciplines. It must use Washington, D.C. as a classroom, so more from the experiential learning piece, and incorporate experiential learning, interactive learning, and then social emotional learning. Again, if your program does not currently have SEL, this is the time, or this is what you'll write in as your new opportunity. If it currently does, the application will ask to explain what you currently do and what you will layer that current concept. What new dynamics will you bring through this grant? So the application, the awards are up to $30,000. They are due June 22nd, and the project period is August 2nd through February 15th, 2022. So basically a semester to get this done and the evaluations in. And at the end of the Soul of the City, you will have a new or majorly revised social emotional learning approach for your program. Your staff will be trained, and you'll have an evaluation tool at the end. And those things will be submitted for us to DCDM. Put in the definition of social emotional learning. That's everywhere. Just like to add those in, especially if somebody gets the slides and you just want to have one document to take a look at. So the Humanitini Curator Grant, that has not changed. From earlier this year, we are looking for curators. We are looking for curators to present your original humanities research. We have had some awesome people to come forward and participate with us. And the Humanitini Curator event is not in an academic setting. We usually have it in restaurants, in bars, or just unique places. We actually have one at the Rise Center at the Kennedy Center, and that was very, very neat, very cool because it's a newer space. But these programs, they will base the public program on their research or their expertise. And so those are usually fun topics and can get people out that aren't always in academia. Of course, friends and family will attend. And this past year, we've had them virtually. So we've definitely had a increase in participation because the curator programs were online. This is kind of, I feel like, a unique opportunity for someone to really showcase their expertise, their research ideas to the public, and kind of test them out and really show off what they've been doing, for the last couple of years. The award is $5,000. The deadline is May 3rd, and the event must occur between August 1st and January 31st of 2022. We do offer program support. We have a Humanitini Curator guide that assists the curators with putting on their public program. Like here we have a Humanitini guide that talks about professional videographers. Of course, in the virtual world, we did not do that. I know some of our curators are moving to a hybrid method, so we can record on Zoom as well as in person. You need to have an ASL interpreter, whether you're virtual or in person, and evaluative tools to evaluate your program at the end for those participants that are attending. So I think that is a general kind of summary of each of the grants. Project directors are required for the mission grants, for Soul of the City. Organizations that are applying, if you have more than 14 employees, you'll be responsible for going through the application and responding to the accessibility section, and that cues you right up in the application. You don't have to do anything additional to get to that area. The participants, the partnership projects must participate in joint marketing and communications. And so it kind of must participate. We really do try to support all of our public humanities programs by offering our communications assistance. We put it on social media. We do media advisories or press releases. We also are able to put out, whether it's flyers, we send out constant contact, newsletter weekly, and then we will do targeted messaging to our constituents, depending upon the programs that you have. There's a one-to-one match required for our grant programs, the Mini Vision and the Soul of the City. If you have any questions about that, please let me know. And again, the structure of what we'll ask for, the roles in the application are here as well. And the application is in the grant portal. When you go online where you saw the RFP, there's an apply now button where you just click that. These are some of the questions that you should consider prior to applying. Is your project humanities based? Is your organization a 501c3? It must be a 501c3 organization that is based in DC with a physical address. We cannot award to an applicant that only has a PO box. So please be sure that, all those ducks are in order prior to applying, that also that your project is Washington, DC based. So if you have a particular project that's very close to you, what I usually recommend is that if it is written up, please have somebody read it. That doesn't have anything to do with the project. Give me our RFP and have them read that, and then read your application to ensure that you aren't missing anything. You would be surprised. People do miss really tying your project into Washington, DC. They say some really great things about the project. They really miss that primary focus of Washington, DC. And so make certain that you do that. Make certain that your project is doable within the grant period. Sometimes it isn't, and I think that that's okay. If you have to force it too much, it may not be a good fit, because you don't want to water down your project. You don't want to pull out things that are viable pieces of your project to meet our timelines. And I know that, funding, it basically is a make or break for your project, but definitely be clear about can you be successful and be proud of your project by implementing it within our grant period. Will the residents of DC benefit? Are they the primary audience for your project? And then if your organization has any previously held grants from us, they must be closed out. And so let me know if you have any questions about that as well. Let's see, do we need to get on these? The audience, the outreach. And so the application will ask about your outreach, your audience, who your scholar is. You need to identify that. The goal and timeline, again, are these realistic for your project? Who are you distributing it to? If it's all in the city, who are the children? where will they come from throughout Washington, DC? And then how do you promote, how will you do outreach for your project? So I'm on to how to submit. Do you guys have any questions so far about the Mini Vision or the Solar City program? Okay, Jake.
Good morning. Hi, good to see you. Yeah, I just had one really quick one. If we apply for the Mini Vision, but we kind of see our project could possibly fit into another one like Soul of the City, would we find out in enough time to then submit an application, or would it be where the grants panel would say this is probably a better fit for another project? Is that possible?
They don't say it's a better fit. So right now, these timelines are so close together. Sometimes there is an opportunity to, oh, I'm going to apply for both. Some people do apply for both. And then the first one will come up. Do you want it or do you not? And then some people just say, I'll take it. Or some people are like, no, I'll wait because maybe you applied for. So Vision is due first, which means we will award first. And Vision is $15,000. So they'll do that, but then they'll do Soul of the City, hoping that they'll get it. But you definitely need to make a decision before that. And it's not, this time is so close. It definitely makes sense in the past that people have done it, they found out immediately or while it's still open and, try to give them feedback, they revise it and then they submit. We can talk about it again though. We can. I know it's tough, I'm sorry. But yeah, we can talk about it. Sally, any questions?
That makes sense. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Sally, do you have anything for Soul of the City?
I'm good. I'm
Okay.
good. Yeah, I think you sort of mentioned the challenging question about the time frame. So this is like a discrete project. If we're doing this within a program that might be a year-round program, we would identify a specific project for this application. Is that correct?
No, I don't understand. So say that one more time.
The dates to implement the project, it has to end in February, if I got that.
Okay, so let me go back for this one. You have a year-round program, great. So within this project period, what you would do is identify, okay, what route am I going for Soul of the City? Which route am I going for this social emotional learning approach?
Mhm.
But then hire somebody to help you determine, okay, this is my program. This is what we already do. What can I do to really enhance my social emotional learning for my students? I'm sure they'll want to know, who are your students? What are their ages? What are their backgrounds? What is the goal of your program? Then that person will help you and your program staff determine what you want to layer your program with from a social emotional learning approach. From that, they'll do all they do as a consultant or for social emotional learning. They'll ask you, and I've seen kind of the questions how they ask to put, to determine the 5 cores. They may even want to know what you do with your staff already, not just your program participants, to really do a good assessment of your organization. And then they'll drill down to the actual program. And then they'll say, okay, you need to have your staff, you need to create a plan and train your staff within this project period. So we can train the staff that will be dealing with the program that you describe in your application. At the end of that, you will do an evaluation for the staff. And then you'll be done. So you will not have to pilot your social emotional learning approach for us during the project period.
Okay, that clarifies.
Yes, we did not have enough time. That to me would not be a responsible way of implementing a social emotional learning. That would be too fast. Our goal for this is to make certain that you do have a social emotional learning approach for your humanities program, because right now we know children need it. We know staff need it. We need it. And so seeing how we can assist the most with our youth programs, we thought that this would be a really good way to do that so that they can flourish come next year.
Got it. Very clear.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Yep, you're welcome. So the Humanities DC website, you click on grants, and then when you log in, it'll show you what is currently open. And so you click on the opportunity that you're interested in. Here's the grant portal. This is where you'll see. If you have a grant, if you've applied before with an organization and you weren't the actual person, please email me. I can create you a username under your organization. Please be sure to make certain that your organization information is updated, that your EIN is correct. I click a button to make certain that you have a nonprofit, and the system tells me if your numbers are wrong, it will not show that you have an active nonprofit. Sometimes I do digging because I may know or something's off, but sometimes it cannot be resolved. So just make sure if you have updates to your program's address or anything, you cannot update those yourself, send me an email and I will update that information in our system for you. If there's someone who is no longer there and they should not be the primary contact, send that information to me, because we want to make sure everybody who is supposed to receive communication from us through the system receives that information. There are some slides here. I won't go through everything. I will again post this, but just things to remember, you know, clear and concise descriptions in your narrative. We have grant reviewers that review each of our applications, and they assign scoring. And so you want to be sure that they understand what you're saying, understand what your project goals are and what your final product is. Your project budget, please be sure that that is clear, as well as the narrative. It is very important. Our grant reviewers, we look at that and it has to make sense. So please be clear on and concise when you're describing that you have a project director. These are the hours that they're going to get paid. Your videographer, these are the hours they're going to get paid. It could be potentially that your videographer charges normally in real life $75 an hour, but only charging you $25 an hour. And so you can put that match, because that is the donation to your project that they are being, that they are able to reduce their rate for you. And so just be clear on when you're putting all of that information into your application. The things that we fund and we don't fund are very simple, you know, mostly according to federal guidelines. We do not, I think the biggest question I get is food. We do not fund food for projects. And I know you have to feed children if it is an after school program or something like that, but it cannot be taken out of Humanities DC grant funds. Do's and don'ts, you know, do break down your budget, try to anticipate and answer reviewer questions, that kind of thing. Don't include additional letters of support from organizations that are not directly involved in this application or your project, or anything that you've done in relation to the project or the topic. So please, again, keep that clear. We don't want to overburden the grant reviewer with documents that they're needing to read and then come to the end and realize that it didn't really offer anything for your application. Most of these requirements I've gone through before, just kind of a list, a checklist to look at as you are going through your eligibility and ability to submit a successful application. So when these projects are awarded, the applicants do receive the funds at 100% after your grant conditions are signed. So it is, at that time, your project will begin. It is a legally binding contract, and you know, we move forward with the project period. We have an award ceremony. We go over the conditions. We go over the project again. You hear from the other grantees, and we move forward and we get started on our projects. I am always available. You can email me at 9 a.m. or 9 p.m. You know, and I will respond to you. I always tell people if they're working on things at night and you don't want something to leave you or be missed, definitely send me an email and I will send you a response the next day. Covered most of that. And again, remember, your final products will be a part of the Humanities DC DC Digital Museum. We usually do kind of the public events or the public humanities programs at the end. We offer those to the public. We've done panels with some of the grantees before. We've partnered with some organizations that we know to do webinars about your project. It just depends on what it is. If it's a film, we support the screenings. The good thing about Humanities DC is we do get a lot of different types of projects, which is a lot of fun. And the work or the level of work that you put into them, we are definitely able to support you in getting a broader audience to look at it. So humanitiesdc.org, under the grants, that's where you'll find everything. This is my information, so please email me if you have questions beyond today. Do you guys have any additional questions? Okay, I can stay on for a few minutes. Thank you for joining us for today's Humanities DC Grants Q&A session. If you have any questions after reviewing the RFP, looking at these slides and just kind of taking a look at your project, please email me prior to the deadline so that I can answer your questions so that you can get in a successful application. Thank you. And again, my name is Andrea McNeil, and I look forward to working with you all.